I don't know about you, but I've definitely missed a flight. And this was the same back in 1912 when it came to ocean liners. People missed their trip, missed the ocean liners. Um, Unlike today, when there's announcement after announcement that you're going to miss it, it wasn't like that back in 1912. If the ship was meant to leave at 12:40, the ship left at 12:40. Now, that's not what this episode is about. This episode is about those people that had booked on the Titanic and missed it in some really weird circumstances and really gave some very unusual excuses why they didn't board. And the people that didn't board, certain people that didn't board, makes you really think that they may have known more than the average person that was boarding the Titanic. Guys, girls, everyone out there, this is Adam from Titanic Mythology and Superstition. In this episode, you heard what we're going to talk about, and I hope you enjoy it. We are on all the social medias. Well, not all of them, but we're on the Facebook. We're on Spotify, not Spotify. We're on Spotify too. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter, and on all those you'll find us under Titanic MC. Our new website will be out very soon. You'll be able to link to most things from the website. That's www.titanicmc.com. We also have a Patreon page, guys. I would love to keep doing this full time. If you could help me along with that, just drop me $1. Drop me $2. Help me out. Whether it's a one-off, whether it's a continuous thing, I would love your help to be able to produce and do more with this channel. My hope is to be able to upload onto YouTube and to be able to do quite a few documentaries in regards to Titanic as well. So, guys, thanks for listening to that part of it, and from this point we will talk about some of the unusual circumstances. The first one we're going to talk about is a man by the name of Milton Hershey. Yes, the name sounds familiar. Hershey chocolate bars. He was the man that invented that chocolate bar. Now, Mr. Hershey paid a $300 deposit on a ticket for a suite in the first class section of Titanic. Now, just 3 days before the trip of the maiden voyage of the biggest ocean liner in the world, where to be seen was to be seen, Mr. Hershey decided that he wanted to go on another ship. Seems a bit odd to me that $300, even now, if I was to go put $300 deposit on something, I'd be like, well, shit, if I'm not going to go on that trip, I want my money back, or I want to do something else. That's a bit of coin to drop on a deposit and then decide don't want to go on it, don't get a refund, and then book passage on another boat 3 days before the ship was to set sail. Did he know something more? Was he warned by certain people in his business circles? I mean, this man was a pretty wealthy individual. He knew the people to know. He would have known people like JP Morgan. We'll get to him later. So if there was something going on, if there was some sort of plan to know something, then I'm guessing these upper echelon rich people would be told amongst each other. Food for thought, guys. Food for thought. Now, the next cab off the rank that we're looking at is a extremely wealthy businessman by the name of Alfred Vanderbilt. I think I got that right. If I didn't, I apologise. He was the first with that name. Now, like I said, he was extremely, extremely wealthy. I mean, the wealthiest of the wealthy. I believe there wasn't many people around that was as wealthy as this bloke. He um, he booked to travel on the Titanic on her maiden voyage to be part of the elite, and he cancelled so close to her maiden voyage that most people believed that he was indeed on board the Titanic when she sank, and actually reported that he had died. Now, there's an interesting possible connection with this gentleman and other members of the Just Missed Club. Basically, people that didn't board the Titanic that was meant to. Now, many people in the conspiracy world will have heard of the Skull and Bones Club. Now, apparently, Vanderbilt and a few of the other members of this particular club were members of the Skull and Bones Club. Now, that also included a very interesting gentleman that I have mentioned before by the name of J.P. Morgan. Again, we will talk about him later on. This isn't confirmed that I can find, but I have read about in many places that both these guys were members of the Skull and Bones Club. Now, like any secret society, if something was going to happen, members of the club would warn each other and tell each other about this. Now, this gentleman, I'll just call him Alfred, it's a bit easier, or Alfie. Alfie actually sailed on the Lusitania a few years later when she was torpedoed by a German U-boat. Now, according to what I found in a few documents, he was actually warned not to sail on the Lusitania because they actually knew what was going to happen to her. But he failed to miss, he failed to miss, of course, failed and missed. He failed to receive the telegram before he actually boarded the ship. Therefore, he actually died on the Lusitania. Oh, that does sound a bit iffy, doesn't it? That he, along with other people in that club, didn't sail on the Titanic. And right up to the point that he cancelled so late that people actually thought he was on board. So, I mean, he must have cancelled literally a day before the sailing, or right up to the sailing. It just seems a bit dodgy to me that if you're the elite of the elite and you want to be seen anywhere to be seen, you would be on the ship of ships, the biggest ship in the world. Even though at the time maiden voyages could have issues, could have problems, you still would be there, wouldn't you? Well, it just makes a bit of sense. I don't know, everyone, just seems a bit fishy to me. What do you think? Give me your opinions on what do you think of the Skull and Bones? Are all these guys linked? Are they greater powers that control things? I don't know. I mean, yeah, tell me what you think. Now, our next cab off the rank is a man by the name of Norman Craig. Now, Mr. Craig was a Scottish Member of Parliament and also a member of the Queen's Council. He booked on the Titanic for a maiden voyage because he decided he needed a bit of fresh air. Now, literally, I believe it was 2 days, or even a day before the Titanic sailed, he just decided he didn't want to go anymore. Forfeiting his fare, forfeiting his deposit, everything to go on there. And his explanation to that was, and I quote, "I had no mysterious premonitions or visions of any kind, nor did I dream of any disaster. But I do know, at precisely that last moment, I did not want to go." Really? In that very last moment, you decide, look, I just don't want to go. I'll just forfeit all that money that I've just spent to book on the Titanic on a maiden voyage. You're a member of the Queen's Council. You're a member of Parliament. The prestige that he would have gotten being on the Titanic with all these famous people and millionaires. I don't know, it doesn't sit right with me. It really doesn't. It just seems like he got some sort of warning on that very last moment. It's like a few of the other guys that we've looked at, that they just seemed at that very, very last moment they've got a warning and just didn't decide to go. Look, there's been numerous counts, and I've looked all this up, that people that just couldn't make it, or just missed it, or doctors' visits, or they were sick and they couldn't get on the ship. That sort of shit happens, that you just occasionally miss the ship or can't attend. There was one particular case where a gentleman was driving to the White Star Line docks, and the car broke down and he missed the ship. So that sort of stuff does happen. But the fact that you just decide you don't want to go, were people really that wealthy that they would forfeit that sort of money because you decide you just don't want to go? Because I'd love your feedback on this. Is it just me being a bit pessimistic? Me being a bit, well, this doesn't sound right, and these things happen? Hit me up. Send me some info. Tell me what you think. So the last person we're going to talk about today, by far probably not the last that can appear on this list, is no other than J.P. Morgan. Now, the name J.P. Morgan, a lot of people probably recognise from today's financial institutions and things like that. But at the time, he was a real person. Now, J.P. Morgan actually, over the whole scheme of things, owned the Titanic. Now, yep, the Titanic was owned by the White Star Line, but the White Star Line had been sold to the IMM, International Maritime Merchants, or something like that, I believe it is. Send me an email at info@titanicmc.com if I'm incorrect. And the main financier of the IMM was no other than J.P. Morgan. Now, J.P. Morgan had, I guess, originally booked to go on Titanic. It was said that he had his own suite all nice and laid out and ready for him, with particular things in that suite just for him. Now, he was meant to go into suite B52, B52, 54, and 56. He was actually replacing other members of the upper echelon that were meant to go on the ship, apparently. Now, I don't know, it just seems a bit odd that 3 sets of people that had booked into this one particular room decided that they couldn't go on the ship. Now, J.P. Morgan, being the main financier of the White Star Line, the Titanic, you would think would be as proud as punch to go on the biggest ship in the world, to show himself off, to say, hey, look what I've been able to achieve, with the help of others, of course, but look what I've made, look what I've put my money into. Now, the excuse that Morgan had actually given to not going on the ship, his business in Europe lasted longer than expected. Now, I don't know, it just seems to me that anyone launching such a big project, or launching such a big object like the Titanic, the biggest object in the world, the biggest ship in the world, would make it his duty to be there. Now, rumours are, and I can't confirm this, I've read it on a couple of sites, that he was actually spending more time with his mistress in France. Now, whether that's true or not. Now, J.P. Morgan was actually allegedly also a member of the Skull and Bones Club, or Society, I don't know. Seems a bit of the same to me. They're in their little boys' club and doing whatever they do behind closed doors. Now, whether that had anything to do with it, who knows? It just seems really odd to me. Now, JP Morgan was also one of the most powerful men in the world in 1912. So for him to be able to alter his plans, or for him to be able to change what he's doing just to be at the Titanic, would have been nothing for him. So like I said, it just seems really, really odd to me that someone like JP Morgan would not have been at the very least, at Southampton when the Titanic set sail. Now, the person that ended up taking JP Morgan's suite was no other than Bruce Ismay, the chairman of the White Star Line. Coincidence? I don't know. It just seems to me that JP Morgan ended up with this. Now, apparently JP Morgan was actually going to have... Not JP Morgan, sorry. Bruce Ismay was actually going to be on the Titanic anyway. He had another room and moved into this suite. Lucky bugger, isn't he, really? I mean, well, not lucky the ship sank, but lucky for the fact that he got such a big upgrade. Now, guys, if you've got any other information for me, anything else that you might find, that I might find interesting and can later do an update episode, please hit me up on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Send me an email to info@titanicmc.com. I'll be more than happy to look at it. If I've got anything wrong, or, I mean, these are superstitions and myths, I guess, so it's hard to get them wrong, but if there's any facts in here that I've got wrong, please correct me. I'm always up for corrections. Now, all up, I think there was about 80 people that didn't end up sailing on board the Titanic, who had had tickets for one reason or another. There was some crew that abandoned their post, which wasn't out of the ordinary back in 1912. There were people that obviously just wanted to get England quicker, New York quicker, and they took other ships. There are a few mentionable notes that I did see, but I couldn't find enough information on them to actually add them to the show. People that, I don't know, sailed a couple of days before the Titanic or a couple of days after. To me, that personally doesn't make sense. And these were rich people. These were in the upper circles. It doesn't make sense that you've got the opportunity to go on the biggest ship in the world. You've got the opportunity to rub shoulders with the wealthiest of the wealthy, and you're not going to hang around for a couple of days. It doesn't sort of ring true. Just let me know what you think. Well, guys, this is the end of another episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Like I've said a couple of times, hit me up with your comments. Hopefully you can help me out on Patreon. Until next time, I will see you then.